It's too loud. And in the case of Chiemgauer, it's just the other way around. It just happened. Yeah. So it started. Okay, I give you an idea where we are. The Chiemgauer is a region in the southeast of Germany, around Lake Chiemsee, which is the center of the area. It has about 500,000 people living there, and the area is 780 square kilometers. And the Chiemgauer actually started as a playful experiment. Our founder has been a teacher of economics at a Waldorf school, like an alternative private school in Chiemgauer, and he was teaching about the subject of money systems, and instead of only talking theoretically about it or in texts, he said, well, let's print some money and start a game with it. And so they printed about 2,000 Chiemgauers and formed a team, by the way, only girls at the time, who watched the circulation of the money. And the circulation at that time was only allowed to circulate within the school. So you could buy, let's say, a sandwich in the break time, or some office goods, paper and pencils and little things. Yeah? And eventually, the parents of the kids, seeing and watching this experiment, took an interest in it. Many of them had businesses and said, okay, we accept also Chiemgauers. Yeah? So it started to expand beyond the school in 2003. And very soon the state stepped in and said, well, this is getting bigger, you have to have some legal entity. The Chiemgauer Association was formed. So that's an entity where you can do a lot of things in association. Now I'd like quickly to jump to today. So it started with 2,000 Chiemgauers, and today we have a turnover about 7.6, 7.8 million per year in Chiemgauers, and 530 businesses take part in it. You can buy almost everything in Chiemgauers in our region, not a house and not a car, but car services, craft people that fix your house, computers, food, whatever, services of all kinds. So we right now have 3,759 consumers as members, and also 9 communities taking part in it, local communities, which are 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 people, nothing compared to the metropolitan area of Barcelona. And as you see on the figures, about roughly 620,000 Chiemgauers are in circulation. And we started at that time with printed Chiemgauers, banknotes. I have some with me here. And a few years later, the Chiemgauer went digital. So we programmed a digital Chiemgauer that has been now available for 10 years, and you can use it with a card, very similar to a Euro card, in the same procedure. You put in a PIN, and the shops used to have an extra terminal for it. So the shops that would accept digital Chiemgauer had an extra terminal. Only recently we changed it so we could embed it in their system, so they don't even have to have an extra terminal for it. So, how does it work? How in general? Let's start with the consumer, because this is for most people the most interesting part. The consumer you can get Chiemgauers like banknotes from anybody and spend them. So this would be anonymous. But usually the way is that somebody says, okay, I want to be part of the Chiemgauer Association. So you just fill out a form, and 2 weeks later you get this type of card. And then you can go to issuing place could be a local bank, which eventually took part in it, some, or a shop or a company who offered to be issuing a location for Chiemgauers. So you go there with your card and say, okay, I'd like to have, let's say, 100 Chiemgauer. You can pay it with a card, then it's withdrawn from your bank account, from your bank account, transferred into digital Chiemgauer. Or you can hand them 100 euros cash and they give you 100 Chiemgauers. So this would be the exchange office. And then the person can spend this money. And we have two ways to know where you can spend your money if you are totally new to the system. You either look on the website, which most people now do. It's very well programmed. You can look for certain branches, food, services, and so on and so forth. Or you can use the printed catalog. And usually people have their, they have their places to go. After a very short time they know, okay, they take Chiemgauers. And the shops usually also do have a logo on their front side, similar as the grammar down there. Then the Chiemgauer goes into circulation, and there's one pretty unique benefit with it. When the consumer exchanges 100 euros into 100 Chiemgauer, immediately a donation is created of 3% to social and art initiatives. He, however, gets 100 Chiemgauers, not 97. Where do these 3% come from? They come from the business people. So with their monthly contribution, these 3% are financed. And they know this money will be spent here in the region and will get to one or the other of us. So they are accepting this. And when you apply to be a member of the Chiemgauer Association, you can also determine to which social initiative or cultural initiative your 3% shall go. And you can choose among, meanwhile, 295 of these organizations. You can say the local soccer club is important for me if they are eligible for receiving the donation, or a choir, community garden, whatever. You select, the consumer can personally select, I want my 3% go to this. So it circulates, and let's say a businessman has collected now 5,000 Chiemgauers, and he says, well, I have to order new computer parts in Hamburg, so I won't be able to pay with Chiemgauers. So the business can rechange, because the Chiemgauer system is in the class of euro-based complementary currencies. However, when he rechanges, he loses 5%. And of these 5%, again, 3% goes to cultural and social projects. So it's a kind of forced donation, but for a good purpose. It's not going to a credit card company, for example. And 2% go to us, the organization, but just for the upkeep of the offices. It's in fact so that almost everybody in Chiemgauer works volunteer, and only like the founder and another person gets paid a very modest salary, and we get some balance for the driving or the travel expenses, but all others work voluntarily. The system is designed that the money stays as long in the region as possible. And if a businessman needs to rechange because he can't spend this money in the region, he does so and loses the 5%, but I would say for a good purpose. So we call that, yes. One other thing, the Chiemgauer loses in value, so it has demurrage on it. In 6 months, it loses 3% of its value. 6% over the year. However, anybody who is understanding the system can steer that very effectively. So you, as a consumer, you just change the money when you need it, so it doesn't stay long in your pocket. Yeah? And the business also can determine, okay, I have so and so many suppliers, I can spend it here, I can spend it there. And the acceptance of Chiemgauers is, even for the members, not obligatory. So if a business says, for example, well, I can't deal with 5,000 Chiemgauers if he sells a big item like a kitchen stove, like a fancy kitchen stove. We bought one, and so the supplier said, well, I can't take this whole amount. You can negotiate. We paid half of it in euros and half of it in Chiemgauers. That's possible. In principle, the members of the association just declare they are willing to accept Chiemgauer vouchers as payment, but they are not obliged, even when they are members. So this démarrage we call a circulation impulse. That's a nicer word, I would say. And this turned out to be true to serve this purpose, as I will show later in the statistics. And as is shown here, change and rechange create donations. So actually, the cultural initiatives are the big beneficiaries of the Chiemgauer system. Business in local communities get into a lively regional network and also acquire new customers, because people have to consciously think, where can I spend my Chiemgauers? Yeah? They don't just go to any shop, but have to select among the ones that take and accept Chiemgauers. So it's also creating new turnover for existing businesses. The money is staying much longer in the region, as I will show, I think, yes. So, because the digital Chiemgauer had been created quite early, we can trace the movement of the money very good. It's about 70% of it, or 80% is digital and 20% is in banknotes. So 20 euros create half of it turnover in the region before the money leaves again, and the Chiemgauer creates 4-time turnover. It's passed on 4 times till it leaves, or it's rechanged. Yeah, it cannot leave till it is rechanged. The businesses get an additional benefit. They are of course, on the Chiemgauer website, which has 150,000 hits a month, and the printed catalog is circulating in an amount of 10,000 copies. And they get, I would say, they get an image improvement. So people know this business cares about the region, and the business knows the other business cares about the region, and he might care about me because he's in the same network, and I give money to him, maybe the money circulates back to me sooner or later. The businesses have to pay a small monthly fee. For consumers, it's totally free to take part. And in the last 15 years, we have created 646,000 Chiemgauers or euros for social and cultural projects. And this picture always warms my heart when I see we are even reaching out to Kenya, because one of the initiatives that we have is called Donation Parliament. So if you choose your 3% to go to the Donation Parliament, this sum is not fixed. So, but the members who decided to give the money to the Donation Parliament are the Donation Parliament, and they decide once a year where the money is spent. And so they decided to sponsor the print of a local currency in Kenya through a contact. I found it quite, something that this, small regional currency somewhere in Upper Bavaria could reach out, at least symbolically, or to the little drop to Africa. So how are we organized? Meanwhile, we have 4 pillars now. The first that started the whole thing is the Chiemgauer Association. It's non-profit, and I was elected the head of that organization 1 week ago. I've been in the team for 5 years, and the main thing is education, exchange with other currencies, networking, and general public relations. The business part that the state authorities required is now the Chiemgauer UG, that's a business entity, which is cheap to found. You don't have to put down so much initial capital, very, very small initial capital. And they do the commercial part, acquisition, customer and partner service, so they go to the businesses and ask is everything working, is anything wrong, and so on and so forth, and develop new project ideas. And after some years we got so much experience that we founded another initiative which is a cooperative. It's called Regios. And they are the data processing center, the servers are, and they are responsible for accounting and bookkeeping, and they are eligible to or responsible or report to the network of cooperatives in Germany. So the charter has to be approved and so on and so forth. So they can control it also. And by the way, the founder, Christian Gelleri, the man with the girls, the teacher that you saw in the beginning, is head of the Regis cooperative. Because they have to know the most about all legal issues and data security and so on and so forth. He's really an expert now, and nobody else so far could do it. And the last pillar is just the regional offices who also go to the communities or businessmen or local projects. The Chiemgauer banknote is printed in a print shop that does also euros. It has 10 security features. Some of them I don't even know. Yeah. So all water sign and complex graphics, and we don't know of any case where there has been broadly counterfeiting. Okay. And of course we have the cash card that I already showed. On the lower, here you can see the print mark. So if you get a Chiemgauer that is going over this demurrage date, you have to buy a stamp mark and can revalue it. But this also goes to the organization. So usually you could also say, no, I don't want this because it's like 3 cents less, or the worth has decreased. But that's, people don't do that. They just, okay, give it, and then they buy the stamp. No. Okay, certainly costs are an interesting post. So it's free, as I said, for consumers, and they even create a 3% bonus. And I do have a friend who's a kind of tough businessman, and I talked to him and said, well, I'm working for the Chiemgauer. So his first question was, what do I gain from using the Chiemgauer? And I would say, in our times, it seems meanwhile to be the wrong questions. What do the others gain when you use the Chiemgauer? So a lot of our economy has been based on me, yeah, and also the discount or bonus point services from big companies like gasoline companies or MediaMarkt, Ali, whoever, you know, they all have consumer cards now where you can collect points and then you have some kind of advantage. The Chiemgauer is designed in a way that the culture, the region where you live, the social fabric has an advantage. And I find it much more interesting. And by the way, they are selling your data. Yeah? When you get you have this customer card, they track every movement that you make and might sell it, to America and to Facebook or whoever. We don't do that. We wanted to make the Chiemgauer is organized based democratic, so every member has also voting right in the yearly assembly. However, we wanted to keep people who just appear once a year and don't use it from using their voting right or wanting to discuss without taking part in the network. So we put in this small fee of 30 Chiemgauers per year if you want to be a member that has voting rights. Just to have a little threshold. So the businessmen and women pay 19 euros per month. That is 228 a year, or Chiemgauers, whatever they choose. For that they have the 5% rechange fee. And if they are very active in the network, they pay even less, only 12 euros or Chiemgauers per month, but would have a 7% rechange fee. That is for the ones who say, no, I'm sure, I'm confident that I can spend the money in the region among my business partners and so on. So they have even a lower monthly fee. And they are, as I mentioned, presented on the website and in the Chiemgauer catalog. I want to proceed to factors of success, factors that drove a little, gameful initiative at a local school to a worldwide scene money initiative. So, of course, it's always about the devoted people. It's a stable core team and a lot of volunteer work. I would say the core team is about 10 to 12 people, not more. And there's a circle of friends around it that, are not so in the core team, but they are sympathetic about it, they support it, they come from time to time or do some volunteer work for Chiemgauer. That might be 30 or 40 people. Then we very early wrote the mission statement and the rules. They are transparent. You can look them all up on the website. Also the charter of the association is there. Everything is there. You can look it up. And if you say, okay, I think as a voting member this should be changed, you can bring it to the next General Assembly and propose that. And then it's discussed and it's voted out. It's voted whether this change will take place or not, based democratic. Important have been attractive public events. So we organize sometimes a good keynote speaker. We organize events with Margaret Kennedy, who is known at least in complementary currencies circles. She has been the grand old lady of complementary currencies in the German-speaking region, but also all over Europe. She did public presentation in Brussels, even at the EU. In the beginning, and especially at that phase when the digital Chiemgauer was created, it costed a lot of money, and there's a very skilled programmer in our ranks, but he was paid. He didn't do all that work voluntarily. So we got donations by businesses, private persons, and also by foundations. For example, Margaret Kennedy is from a fairly wealthy family, or her brother is a very successful medium-sized businessman, and they've created the Moneda foundation, and they have given us money too, which we used to create the digital Chiemgauer. Important has been to get local banks and communities to cooperate. So we have two banks that are the strongest for the small to medium businesses in the region, or even all over Germany. The Raiffeisenbank, which is a cooperative bank founded in the 19th century, in the Sparkasse, two very important banks just for the day-to-day business in the region, close to the people, and they accepted to open up Chiemgauer accounts. So you can, if you want the easy way, you can have, as a consumer, you have normal bank account in euros, and if you pay with your card, then it's the money is drawn from your euro bank account and drawn into the Chiemgauer system. However, a business wants to have, for large amounts of money, they usually have a Chiemgauer account, which you can have at the local banks. So it goes from Chiemgauer account to Chiemgauer account. Then there are a lot of publications that have been brought out at universities. They are all on the website also, so you can look them up. Mostly of them in German, but some of them are in English. So students wrote theses about Chiemgauer, or even PhD, and that helps also to make it known. The electronic payments methods are mandatory today, so people don't want to bother with the banknotes, or many people. However, I do like the citizen freedom that is, the anonymity that is encoded in these banknotes, and it's also something that you can touch. Yeah? I mean, so much in our social world is now going digital. Yeah, we don't really even see a real photo. You only see it on a smartphone or an iPad, and I like to have them in my wallet. Yeah, still. And for example, for kids or young people, it's nice, and it shows pictures from the area, from communities, or points, places to see in Chiemgauer. Okay, and I don't want to close this first part without also the setbacks that we experienced and the lessons that we learned. We do struggle with the digitalization of the economy, especially big players like Amazon, who offer, meanwhile, almost anything, and it's so convenient to use it. You're looking up a book in Amazon, and then I needed a tool or a piece of furniture, and it's very tempting to go that way, yeah, and we have that effect too. So the internet is a very great equalizer. You don't have personal relationship to the business in your neighborhood or close by. You just click and it comes from somewhere. Could be, Hamburg or even China direct. And when business people say to us, I don't want to deal with the Chiemgauer, my clients come to me anyway, they can pay me in Europe. We now say, maybe next year not any longer. So one or the other might go, the quick way and disappear as your customer, but he can't do that with a Chiemgauer, or not so easy. Not so easy. You can, of course, as a business, set up a web shop where you can pay with Chiemgauers. That's also possible. We have the very paradox situation in Upper Bavaria, that the economic situation is fantastic. So we have zero unemployment, like 2%, which is a regular change rate, because people just want to leave their job, not because they are fired or there are no jobs. And so one gets lazy, you know. Why should I deal with this? I want to go mountain biking. I have to do so much in my business anyway. I don't want to deal with any extra effort. Yeah. So that's something in our region. But I always say, well, it won't stay forever like this. Yeah, I'm fairly sure. Then the time pressure. Yeah, everything gets faster through this digitalization. So again, people say, no, I get so much emails, WhatsApp, and so on and so forth, and calls on my mobile. I don't want to bother with it. Then we are a rural area with small villages and business areas. So it's quite big, and that's a difference to a local currency that's implemented, let's say, in one neighborhood of Barcelona, where everything is fairly close by. So if I say, okay, I do sometimes renovate my house, I need some building materials, but I know the next Home Depot is 30 kilometers away, then also I prefer usually to buy like in my village and pay with euros, because it doesn't make sense to drive there by car half an hour and half an hour back. And so that's something that's more difficult in our case than it is in Barcelona, for example. Then we sometimes do have difficulties with what I call remote management decisions. So let's say the manager of the local supermarket says, oh yes, I find it a very good idea to use the Chiemgauer and strengthen like local loops, but the management in Bochum says, no, you don't do this, this takes too much time, yeah, and we can't reach them. We are too abstract for them. Yeah? So this gives us some problems, and also political resistance. I was really happy to hear that most of the initiatives here in Barcelona seem to have had at least a lot of political support from the beginning. And in Chiemgauer, there is some political resistance also. Also because the economy is running so well, they say, well, do we need that at all? Yeah? It depends, however, on individual persons. So one mayor says, yes, that's good, we want it, and the other says, no, we don't need it. And we also applied, meanwhile, for subsidies from the EU. We applied in the LEADER program, which is a regional development program, and unfortunately it stopped at a man that was put in by the Bavarian government who coordinates all the LEADER applications, and he said, no, it's not, it's more a business thing, it's not a cultural thing, and he didn't like it and he stopped it. So that's what we experience also. And the last factor is exhaustion of volunteers. So after many years, sooner or later, some kind of reward, physical, monetary, has to come also. Okay. I would like to stop for a moment and am open for questions. And then I have a little extra part covering attitude and motivation around money. Because it's something, to my understanding, is like deeply ingrained in our heads and hearts, and that hasn't been covered so much this morning so far. So are there? No. I would be open if there are any questions for some time.
Hello. I would like to know if you found the resistance to demurrage, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there is resistance to demurrage up to the present day. We overcome it with clear explanation. We say it's a money for use. You don't use Chiemgauers to save for your pension. Yeah? And I just would like everybody in the room to think for a moment, what is your monthly budget? Just do not speak it out, just think for yourself. And then which part of it leaves your wallet or bank account pretty soon. Yeah? So which is actually the part that you could save. Yeah? And well, in our case, I don't know, it's 80%, 90% leaves us. So you can, if you do it intelligently, you have no loss at all with the démarrage. It does have a psychological thing. Yeah? It's, like forced inflation, or it gets less, I don't have interest. Yeah.
Una pregunta més?
Do I need translation now?
Por ejemplo, lo que has explicado. Castellano. No. Lo que has explicado, por ejemplo, una cosa que has explicado.
Oh, maybe somebody else has this question? Okay, lovely.
Para que no tuviera la palabra. Lo tenías en tu gusto, te las palabras.
It's on channel 2. Yes, I can. Great. Go ahead.
Lo que explica es muy interesante, pero a veces creo que también hace falta un poco poner antecedentes. Yo escribí en el 15 aniversario de la Chiemgauer un artículo en La Vanguardia, yo he escrito otro un poco con también el modelo de la Cerdaña, ¿no? Por ejemplo, los alumnos de Chiemgauer estudiaron bastante Sylvia Gesell, ¿no? Que es el tema de la oxidación. Y eso se inspiraron también mucho en Wolf, que es el pueblo de Austria, donde cuando Austria estaba todo en los años 20, a finales de los años 20, en los años 30, con la crisis profunda de los efectos del 29, el conseguir reactivar la economía. Y la reactivación de la economía no era por dar subsidios, que es lo que hizo Estados Unidos, intentando crear obra pública, que esa obra pública lo que acababa es en, digamos, generando empleo, pero no recirculando la moneda. En cambio, en Wolf sí que el alcalde, con la teoría de Sylvia Gesell, lo que intentó es crear una moneda local capaz de recircular. ¿Por qué? Porque cuando compras una persona dinero, con el dinero compra una cosa, esa cosa se oxida, en cambio el dinero no se oxida. Ante la desconfianza de la economía que hace la gente optar por tener dinero que no se oxide cuando los productos se me van a oxidar, lo cual hace que la economía se ralentice todavía mucho más. En los años finales de 1932 creó una conferencia de 200 ciudades, ¿no? en Austria, que se sumaron a las monedas locales. Luego el Banco Central Austriaco prohibió las monedas de emergencia, diciendo que era un atentado contra la economía y era casi terrorismo, ¿no? Y luego 5 años después Hitler anexionó a Austria. Con lo cual, digamos que también hay que tener en cuenta que el Chiemgauer se creó en el año 2002, cuando aparece el euro, casi, digamos, una especie de profético, ¿no? El decir, bueno, el euro también tiene muchos problemas y crear esa moneda pues es una visión anticipadora. Y la teoría de la oxidación tiene un fundamento de que intentar crear. Claro, has explicado que la moneda circula 4 veces más rápido que cualquier otra moneda convencional. Significa que crea 4 veces más empleo y que Austria o Baviera, sobre todo la zona del sur, que ahora creo que están, eso lo he explicado en el artículo de hoy, intentando también mirar cómo a nivel industrial, pequeña y mediana empresa pueden copiar el modelo de Sardeña, ¿no? Para intentar reactivar aún más todavía la economía. Un poco esos antecedentes, ¿no? Que también explican el por qué, ¿no? Que a veces por la incomprensión. Pero luego también, por ejemplo, vi que Rosenheim Stadtwerk, que es una empresa local de energía, aquí en Barcelona hemos creado Barcelona Energía. también podríamos intentar.
One moment, please.
No voy a
I don't get any question yet from you. It's very, very good. I know all this, and I think most of the people here know it also. So, what is the question?
Ahora pregunta. Bueno, un poco explicar temas, la importancia de eso explicaba esta mañana, ¿no? No la parte técnica, sino la parte un poco más filosófica de por qué, qué significa la moneda.
It's absolutely important. And the demarrage was deliberately designed into the Chiemgauer by the founder because he wanted to have this aging money. Because almost anything ages, you know, why shouldn't money age? You know? Okay.
Yes, thank you for your presentation. I have a few small questions on details. First about transactions, because you showed a graph with an estimated volume of transactions in euros,
Yeah.
or in Chiemgauer, sorry. How do you calculate the transactions? How is it possible? Is it due to the digital version of
due to the digital version, which is now like 70 or 80%, and the rest is just scaled. The circulation of the bank accounts is scaled on these numbers.
Okay. And you talked also about cooperative, which develops microcredit.
Yeah.
I suppose it has some kind of accreditation from the central bank.
From the BaFin, which is authority for that in Germany. The cooperative did part in a small microcredit program that was set up by the German government. The size was about 100 million euros, and in the economic crisis 2008, also small businesses had difficulties to get credits because actually the bank loses on small credits. They say in our region the production cost of a credit is about 800 euros when it's a credit between like 1,000 and maybe 50,000. Yeah? So they have to check the person and do all the legal work and so. And so if they give you a credit of 3,000, they lose on it. They just do it because they hope you will come back later and take a credit of 10,000 or 20,000 or a loan on your house. So the local banks were actually happy to do away with a part of the microcredits, and we were subsidized in the microcredit program from the big program that is being set up by the German government. But it has run out now.
Thank you. And the last point is about members and voting rights. It was not so clear on that point. Does it mean that there are users who are not members, or every user is necessarily a member and so has to pay fees and so gets voting rights?
No, we just distinguish between what we call encouraging members, fördern, I don't know the exact term, what that would be, and members who have voting rights. And this is for, so it's about 3,300 members who use it as consumers, but only 32 have so far chosen, or 30 to 50, to be like members with voting rights. They trust us basically. They say, oh, I don't have to do that. They do it, And so everybody, 1,000 could come and vote, but only 30 to 50 have so far taken this up.
Hello, I'd like to know from the technological point of view, when you created this software, how long ago was it?
2005, 2006 it started the process, and I wasn't part of the team at that time. I can't say much about it, I must admit.
No, my question is about today. Do you feel that you need to update it?
That's a very good question, and we are already doing it and in the process. So our software is a bit outdated now, and we were in contact with Cyclos thinking of using their system, because individual programming costs a lot of money. And however, our founder tends a bit more to this direction, so to have your own software system. But we haven't made a final decision about this yet.
Hola, bona tarda. Felicitats pel projecte, realment és super interessant, em sembla que és la bomba, com diuen aquí. I nosaltres tenia molt interès en saber com heu convençut els empresaris perquè paguin aquesta part proporcional que han de pagar. Gràcies.
Well, it's actually mostly the monthly fee that they have to pay, which is not much. And we convinced them in the way that we said, we want to have a strong regional network. So we don't, we would love that the Chiemgauer circulates as long as possible in the region. So look more towards finding other businesses where you can buy and sell. Yeah. So that convinced. Actually, it's split. There are ones who are really eager and going for it, and others say sometimes, I don't need this bullshit. We get this too. Pretty harsh reactions sometimes, but when it's going so good economically, yeah. So there's not such need as here or in Greece. That also makes people lazy, and they, well, maybe in 3 years it looks very different in Chiemgauer.
Us sembla fem la darrera pregunta i així el Stefan ens pot acabar d'explicar la part d'actituds i motivació.
Pensant en aquest tema justament d'actituds i motivacions, tinc una curiositat. Sabem la dificultat que existeix almenys al nostre país perquè el ciutadà conegui les monedes. És un tema molt desconegut, malgrat que estem algunes intentant fa anys treballant. Llavors, clar, quan pensem en Alemanya, tenim al nostre cap què és Alemanya, que és la senyora Merkel, que sempre està sortint als telenotícies nostres. Llavors, coneix... Sí. Quina és l'actitud? Com a Alemanya la gent ho coneix? És només la vostra regió? El govern, teniu algun input per part del govern alemany amb la tasca que esteu fent, perquè fa uns quants anys que la feu?
Yeah. We are watched and we are in a kind of gray zone as many or most of the complementary currencies, and we are tolerated and watched. Yeah? And so the crazy thing is we get more attention in Japan, Korea, Brazil, China and Spain than we get in Germany. So the profit doesn't count in his homeland. So in Upper Bavaria it's known, people have heard about it, yeah. But if everything is running well in the economy, there might be no need to look into it, yeah. And so the unfairness is happening elsewhere, the economic unfairness is in Greece and in Africa and in China and the sweatshops where they produce the cheap goods, so you don't see it in our region. There's no pressure to look into it deeply. Okay, so I'm happy to continue. I found an American philosopher, E.C. Riegel. He wrote a little book which is very recommendable, The New Approach to Freedom. And I just want to quote this sentence because it goes really to the heart of attitudes towards money. To trade goods and services is a natural right of all people. To issue the money necessary to make these exchanges is also the natural right of all people who are intelligent enough to do so. So this does away a little bit with the centralization that we are all used to. So I have an American friend and he used to mock about Germany. He said, oh, everything is verboten in Germany. So people say, well, are we entitled to print money or to sometimes you have to fight or you get resistance, but keep on doing it. Yeah? And they can't keep you from this these days. Maybe in the 30s they could, but I don't think they can stop it now. So he said, we need not beg for money. We do not need to be money slaves, as many people are in the euro or dollar system. And we can be money masters. Just take this in and apply it to your currency. And as the last sentence, dig up this treasure, your money power that has been lying dormant in your consciousness, and express it, and I left something out, by associating with others who are similarly awakened. That's what we do here. And it's very joyful for me to be part of this movement, when the big picture sometimes can be very depressing. A few more misconceptions about money, which I think many people have internalized. So every second or third day, at least in Germany, in the public broadcast, you hear, yeah, the economy has to grow, it has to grow, it has to grow. So what is growth? They think, about a natural growth like a tree, but there are several types of growth. So the green curve here shows a natural growth, where a human being or a tree grows to a certain size and then stays at this size. And then we have linear growth, the blue line, which you have when you say, okay, I produce so and so much of these goods as a business, and if I put in more machines and more resources, I can produce more and be more capital. This can be taken to some point. Yeah? Whereas in an interest-based money system, we have this exponential growth that you can see here in the red curve, and this is the thing that makes the money system sick, and then, of course, the rest of the economy and also the society. This exponential growth of debt and wealth accumulation on the other side. And people are not so aware about it. They are, but you have to remind them about this. Okay, then some say, I don't have a credit. I didn't have to deal with it. So I'm a very careful person. My house is paid off, so why should I bother about this? They are not aware that interest is in everything that you buy, all the goods that you buy. So they say an average basket of goods that everybody needs, the prices contain 40 to 50% of interest. It depends on the good, some more, some less. And this graph here, on this side, shows if you divide all the households in your country, or this is made for Germany, but I think in Spain it's pretty much the same, like in 10 categories, from the lowest one to the highest income. And so even the Hartz-IV guy, who is, I'm soon finished, has very little income, he pays interest on his cheap pizza that he buys for €1.95. And so on, and only if you are in column number 9, it's somehow equal. You have a house, you have some life insurance, or some shares, and only the last 10% really gain on interest, and the other ones are paying into the system. And in the case of Germany, it's about 600 million euros a day that are transferred from the lower 90% to the richer 10%. So I leave this out. Inflation is an integral part of the free market economy. Maybe Jerome can say something about it. So it's a way of at least making the debt that accumulates bearable for governments. Okay. Money shall serve people, not people money. And money doesn't work. Only human beings and machines work. So there's always, in our current system, the danger that this collapses because of the exponential growth of debt. I mentioned that number, the redistribution of financial wealth, and this also undermines democracy. And all power stems from the people, as it said in most of constitutions, turns into a de facto all power stems from money, as we have seen as the big banks, too big to fail, blackmail politics, as happened in the crisis 2008. So we don't have a temporary financial or liquidity problem, we have a systemic problem. And what we are doing here are the base, down-to-earth, bottom-up solutions that people create. So, yes. 12,000 worldwide. Go.